Welcome to Fan Hour, our live Q&A every Wednesday afternoon on Football Daily. I am joined, as ever, by the idiots, Teen Twats. It's Christopher Hamill and Patrick Van Straten. It's our job to answer your questions for the next hour, so smash them in the comments on YouTube and on Facebook. Why not send us some tweets as well with the hashtag FanHour. Believe us, it's worth it. We've also got some idiots sat opposite us. What is going on over in Social Corner?
Yes, I am Zach Jellum and you are?
Pete Dorman.
We will be asking your questions to the guys. As they said, make sure you get them in the comments below. Our first one though, boys. Will Neymars ego be the downfall of PSG?
Interesting.
Oh, what a question to start. Patrick Van Straten leading us off.
Will it be the downfall
of PSG?
I think that's a little bit strong. Believe it or not, I think
Good
that
title,
might be a bit of clickbait.
Oh, that's a bit harsh. Don't say that.
Well, it brought you in, didn't it, if you're watching this? Look, I think he has been a bit of a baby at the moment. Obviously, this issue with Cavani, basically, during the Lyon match at the weekend, PSG got a penalty. Cavani normally takes them. Neymar asked to take it. Cavani said no, subsequently missed it. Then later in the game, Dani Alves went and picked up the ball. And PSG
that was cringe, wasn't it?
Handed it to his little mate Neymar.
But he didn't just hand it to him. He kind of
It was a bit of a backhand, wasn't it?
It was like
offloaded it.
Little palm, little hand off there. So I don't know. They're just being a bit silly at the moment. Like if you turn up at a new club, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can't just knock the guy out who's taking penalties. I think it's just ridiculous. It's not a good show of being a team player.
I think this is terrible management by Unai Emery.
I mean, I can't disagree with that.
I think Unai Emery should have had this situation under wraps day one. You are the penalty taker, no questions asked, to Cavani or to Neymar. He has now got problems where people were reported Cavani's got a goal bonus. So if he scores a certain amount of goals, he gets £1 million or €1 million, I think, which is quite a lot of money. So he's apparently taking all the penalties. Neymar, for obvious reasons, wants to take the penalties because he wants to win the Ballon d'Or, and is now apparently told some of his close friends, that's what it always seems to be, the sources are always a close friend.
The Brazilians.
Which is just nonsense.
Within the team.
That he wants Cavani sold.
Hilarious.
Harsh, Hamster?
I mean, that would be extremely harsh, and I'd be very surprised if he was pulling that sort of move already. Apparently, Thiago Motta has reprimanded all of them. The fatherly figure in the squad, obviously over the age of 37, stepping in where Unai Emery perhaps should have. I mean, you can just be democratic with it. As soon as you miss one, you take it. As soon as you miss one, you take it.
However, neither of them take it.
However, Neymar has a little. He might have a little bit of a point. Look at last season, the Golden Boot in the Premier League. Without penalty goals, I believe Romelu Lukaku would have finished top goal scorer. And the history books remember top goal scorers, don't they? And if he came to Paris to win the Ballon d'Or, then he's obviously looking for every edge he can get his mitts on. He cost £200 million. He should probably be on penalties, shouldn't he?
I don't know.
No, he shouldn't.
You can understand what he's saying there. Like Neymar last season got 13 goals, 10 assists in the league. And everyone said that was an underperformance. If he'd taken all the penalties and scored all of them, he'd have had 21 goals and 10 assists. That's a massive difference. There's a difference between player of the year and not.
Yeah, it makes that huge price tag even easier to justify when he's getting cheap goals.
Yeah, true. Right, let's get another question then from Social Corner. Doorstop, I'm looking at you.
This question comes from FIFA Player 77. How do you think Liverpool will fare after last night's loss to Leicester?
Oh,
a lot of people call it the Klopp's head, aren't they? No, I didn't. But I watched the highlights today. Obviously, Liverpool missed some gilt-edged chances, particularly that one at the back post from Robertson's delivery early in the first half. Okazaki scored a scuff like only Okazaki can, because he actually just scores very unorthodox, ridiculous goals.
He was the turning point.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, throughout his whole Leicester career, he's linked the midfield to the attack really well. Without him, Jamie Vardy looks really isolated. I'm yet to watch Iheanacho and Vardy play up front together this season, so I couldn't possibly comment on how that's looking. But Leicester look a better unit with Okazaki in that 4-4-1-1.
100%.
I mean, they also look a better unit when they play kids. Like, Leicester are a good team, and Liverpool played a lot of their youngsters last night, and their youngsters are very talented, but they're not as good as Leicester's actual players. Like, Ben Chilwell has been... Loads of people have been after him. Shinji Okazaki is a great player. They brought on a guy they paid nearly £30 million for and he scored as well, right?
Yeah.
Amari Gray, Bournemouth were ready to pay 30 million for him.
Well, I think that's a sign of
insane.
Bournemouth stupidity.
I'm just getting the lineups up here then, because I actually want to see the lineups. Because in my head, I actually think Liverpool put out a fairly strong team.
They did have some strong players, but they also played Woodburn. They played Solanke. Like there's a lot of youth. There's a lot of youth in that squad. I mean, they do have exceptional youngsters, but again, an away loss at Leicester, nothing to be sneezed at. In fact, Jurgen Klopp's teams have gone away to Leicester 3 times since he came to the Premier League. They've scored 1 goal, they've conceded 7. So they always have a tough time. And you know why that is? It's because Leicester are a pretty decent mid-table club, except for one of those seasons when they won the league. And it's a difficult place to go.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that bad. What's the problem?
I watched the game, and Liverpool absolutely dominated for the first, maybe the first half. I'd say the first 35 minutes at least completely on top. I think a stat popped up about 20 minutes in, they'd had something like 76-77% possession. It was about 10 shots. They were really battering the door of Leicester. It came to half-time. Klopp made a couple of substitutions. I believe he took off Coutinho, brought on Woodburn, and the game slightly shifted at that moment. And that was the moment about 20 minutes later, Okazaki came on, had an immediate impact, got his goal, and then Liverpool never looked like coming back. Never ever. And obviously Slimani goes on and scores a banger. My issue though in this game is if Iheanacho is not going to start in this game, when is he going to start for Leicester?
Well, I think there are questions over his fitness. I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he's had recurrent issues that he had pre-season. But looking at this Leicester lineup, Leicester haven't gone with their strongest team either, have they? I think this is Iborra's first competitive start. Damari Gray barely gets a sniff. Joa, the forgotten man at the club. Slimani, I think this was the first goal he's actually scored with his feet whilst at Leicester.
It was indeed.
Prolific header of the ball. Dragovic, his first appearance since joining from Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, Iborra and Dragovic have both got Champions League experience.
Pedigree,
right? These aren't just guys they picked up off the street.
But that's just the Premier League as a whole, right? West Brom signing Krychowiak.
Oh God, well,
Stoke padding their team out of Champions League.
The less said about that is it?
What I would say though, this Liverpool team, you look at it on paper, is fairly weak. You look at the bench, I actually think the bench is weak as well. Karius, Milner, Moreno, Ings, Markovic, Woodburn, Alexander-Arnold. That's not a bench to me that says, oh, we've left out all of our big guns, and then on the bench they can come on and have a serious impact in this game.
Markovic is back at the club.
I'm really unconvinced about that.
It's the League Cup. And also, isn't this a stylistic mismatch, right? So you said, oh, well, Liverpool had a lot of possession. I don't see how that's a problem for Leicester. Leicester have had all their success over the last couple of years through hitting on the break. And do Liverpool want all that possession when they've actually got very bad passing midfielders? Their midfielders have lots of talent, but I'm not sure that being incisive passer of the ball is one of them. Like Wijnaldum is not a great passer, neither is Oxlade-Chamberlain, and so I'm not sure that possession is what you want when you say the counter press is the best playmaker in the world. What you want is to press a team that's also trying to have the ball.
So on the weekend they play each other again at the same ground. Does it go the same way?
Well, the lineups will be different.
Very different. Vardy will be back causing problems again.
Hopefully Okazaki starts as a result of this. He's missed out on the 2 previous Premier League games, much to my chagrin, because he's in my fantasy draft team, which is disappointing. But obviously Leicester have been able to rest a number of first-team players and go through in the Cup, and Leicester are going to want to compete in that Cup much more than Liverpool are. That's probably no skin off Klopp's nose, especially if they're going to compete in the Champions League too. Yeah. And Liverpool over the last 2 or 3 seasons as well haven't had the squad to haven't had the squad to compete on multiple fronts, have they? Didn't really address that this season either.
True.
So dropping out of one competition might not be the worst for them in the long run.
Yeah, right, let's go back over to Social Corner then. Who's got the next question?
Yes, Wilver asks, as we've just released a live XI, and with the FIFA Pro XI nominations being released as well, who would be in your Team of the Year?
Oh my God, Team of the Year.
Go on then. The year for last season, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Explain to me the mechanics of FIFA, this, what has Zach just asked?
Yeah, say this.
Basically, who's your Team of the Year? Not FIFA, playing.
The FIFA Pro World 11.
The FIFA Pro World 11.
From keeper to striker.
Alright, let's go through position by position. Goalkeeper, David De Gea, can't be argued.
I mean,
Keylor Navas would have a shout.
I mean, it can, but
I'd
go for David De Gea as well.
I would go for David De Gea. Pato?
Keylor Navas.
Keylor Navas?
Yes.
What about Neuer?
I don't think Neuer's had his best season.
I think maybe... Go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say Navas's exploits have probably gone a little bit under the radar because they didn't actually keep that many clean sheets, did they?
I think anybody who gets into this team who's not a Real Madrid player has done extremely well. I mean, this lineup should be mostly Real Madrid players in my view.
Yeah. Well, you say that. Right back.
Definitely Carvajal.
100%?
Yes.
Yeah, Danny Carr had an exceptional.
He's an
last season.
unbelievable.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
And it's not a very strong position worldwide at the moment, is it?
Okay, so goalkeeper De Gea, you're outvoted 2-1. Right back Carvajal.
By United fan.
Yeah, he's not a United fan. He's gone for him. Centre backs, tough position. Centre halves.
Weird comment, but
it's hard to go past Varane and Ramos.
Ramos, who has 70 club goals from centre back.
No, I would have said Bonucci last
player.
season. I would have said Bonucci. I know that he didn't win a Champions League, but that comes down to one
I
game.
think Bonucci and Chiellini have got shouts as well, but I mean,
I
my God.
I won't go Rafa Varane.
I tell you what, David Luiz had a great season as well. Toby Alderweireld had a phenomenal season.
Didn't do it in Europe.
Well, so what?
I would go, personally, Bonucci and Ramos.
Did De Gea do anything in Europe?
Yeah, he won
the
Europa League.
Come on.
That's not too bad.
Are we playing 4 at the back then?
Yeah, we're playing 4 at the back.
Right, okay. So should we go for Ramos and Bonucci?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah?
I mean, I'll never say no to Bonucci.
Right,
Marcelo
so Bonucci,
obviously has to
Ramos.
be left back.
Yeah, Marcelo.
Bonucci last season was like Toby Alderweireld on Steads, right? They're both both like distributing it long, but Bonucci was better, completing 7 long balls a game.
Yeah, though you could argue he also had that bust up with Allegri, right? So there were some moments of, and he ended the season by departing them for a rival. So I mean,
all right,
Snake.
Yeah,
so
it's not a great end to his year as well.
Let's go to left back then. Marcelo.
Ben Chilwell. Kieran Tierney.
Marcelo.
I mean, Alexander is the only guy who gives him a run for his money.
And then 4-3-3, the midfielders. Where do we go next?
Well, Modric. Or Tony Cruz has got to occupy
Yeah.
one
I'd
of
say
those
Modric,
positions.
Kroos and Thiago. Those would be my guys.
Thiago, Bayern Munich central midfielder.
I mean, Naby Keita's on the bench.
I mean, there's absolutely no defensive output out of them 3 though.
Thiago?
Yeah,
Thiago does
I'm
loads of defensive work. You're unconvinced?
Doesn't he get like 7 tackles and interceptions a game?
Yeah, something like that.
Wrong.
Right, I'll bow to your greater knowledge then. Going forward, front 3.
Oh, well. Messi, Ronaldo.
Tough. This is tough, I think. This is actually really tough. Higuain was fantastic last season.
Oh, I think we maybe filled our La Liga quota. I think we should look further afield.
Yeah, Higuain maybe?
Yeah, we shouldn't go for any more La Liga
All jokes
players.
aside,
so I'd say Ronaldo, I'd say Messi.
Dries Mertens.
I'd say Griezmann.
What about Harry Kane? All jokes aside, Harry Kane.
You know what? I actually like Mertens.
If we're avoiding La Liga.
Oh, Insigne as well. Insigne had an outrageous.
No one has more Serie A goals this year than Dries Mertens.
Yeah, he must have got
closer.
But
I mean, second and only a couple of goals off is Ciro Immobile, so that's a big worry.
He just scored about 17 against AC Milan, didn't he, last weekend? So.
Right, let's wrap this question up then. What are we going for? From the back, somebody read it out.
Who's the manager of the year?
Yeah, who's Zidane? Zidane, unquestionably, League and Champions League double.
Brendan Rodgers.
No. So we're going for De Gea in goal, Carvajal, Ramos, Bonucci, Marcelo, midfielder, Thiago, Kroos, Modric, and then Messi, Ronaldo, and
Dries Mertens.
Right, Dries Mertens apparently is taking the third.
It's not bad.
With Zidane as our manager. Go on then, next question.
This question comes from Ragav Gupta, and he asks, how will Ibra fit in the United's team with Lukaku?
Oh, how will Ibra fit into
as soon as you said Ibra, I just turned off.
Ibrahimovic will be on the bench for Manchester United.
With is an interesting question. Do you think they'll ever be on the pitch at the same time?
Yes, 100%.
As the starters, or just like when you need a goal?
When we need a goal. When we need a goal, for instance, away at Stoke with the score at 2-2, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Romelu Lukaku will be up front with Fellaini in the hole behind them. 100% that will happen under Jose Mourinho.
Football.
You know it's going to as well, and it's a scary prospect for most teams.
I mean, Ibrahimovic coming back into that side, you need Pogba firing all cylinders, don't you?
It's such a shit. Pogba's injury has absolutely killed Manchester United. He is.
They're going to have to revert back to an ugly, functional brand of football, aren't they?
Yeah,
a little bit.
We're going to be so reliant on Mkhitaryan creating chances for us, and I'm not convinced he does it in every single game. Although he started the season on fire, he was actually really, really poor at the weekend.
I think you can get more out of Herrera if up, by Pogba not being there, and also against weak teams, you can just play Matty. You don't care. You'll just pick through them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I personally think as well though that Jose. Yeah, good one. I personally think as well that Jose won't play Herrera in any of the smaller games this season. He'll be saved as a big game specialist, as a man marker, I think.
Because it's a wasted position in terms of attacking prowess.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's fallen out of love a little bit of Herrera. I think he loved Herrera last season.
He said that Herrera changed the Everton game at the weekend.
Oh, did he? That's a big claim. It's a big claim. I'm not sure he did. I think that we would have eventually blown them away, and I think that Ronald Koeman's substitutions changed the game in our favour. I think taking off Idrissa Gueye and taking off Wayne Rooney were 2 poor choices that effectively ended up us hammering Everton. But yeah, I think he'll come off the bench, Ibra. He's not going to be a starter when Romelu Lukaku's in such frightening form. He just doesn't get his place.
He's a different tool for a different job, isn't
he? Yeah, 100%. Right, next question.
Yes, this one comes from Greg Stevenson, and he asked, will Dybala move in the summer, and if he does, what team will he go to?
Ooh. Didn't he just sign a massive new
Dybala,
contract?
you think he just signed a new contract? Let's have a quick look.
Last year, I think he signed a new contract. I mean, he started the form in frightening form.
Yeah, he signed a contract until 2022 on the 13th of April 2017.
Ooh,
so only 4 months
7
ago.
million a season as well. That's about as much as Rodriguez at Bayern.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, but probably worth it. But we kind of are all in agreement he's going to end up at Barcelona eventually, some stage.
Well, I have no idea.
Doesn't finish his career at Juventus, though, be honest.
I mean,
Probably not.
They can't pay him the wages. They don't have the wage structure.
Did you see that hat-trick by the weekend?
Yeah, I did. It's absolutely outrageous.
That first goal.
But they don't have the wage structure in Italy. They just don't. That's why Paul Pogba was always going to move on.
Probably.
I mean, is he the long-term heir to Lionel Messi at Barcelona?
What do you think, Pato?
Diminutive, false number 9, Argentine, small, tick, 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 tick.
I mean,
You've said it on Continental Club before, haven't you?
The idea of a Dybala and Ousmane Dembele link-up is extremely exciting. I mean, the interesting thing is that Mundo Deportivo, which is a Barcelona newspaper, just reported that Barca actually had a failed move for Antoine Griezmann in the summer. And
That's interesting.
Griezmann's buyout clause should be active again next year. It should be back at 100 million again. So Barcelona, if they think they can get him, I don't know why they wouldn't pay that. Dybala, Barcelona seems the obvious place, but who knows? Maybe he'll stay for another couple of years and then go on to Bayern or something when Lewandowski's old. That'd be interesting.
Oh, that'd be an exciting move. But again, I don't think Bayern Munich would pay him enough money. I really don't. I think he's either going to end up at a Manchester club, PSG, or Madrid or Barca, just because of the money. Probably not Man United, but he could be a good heir to Aguero's throne.
Juventus don't lose players lightly, do they?
They don't, but then tell that to Paul Pogba. So let's go to the next question.
The next question comes from Khalid Yama, and he says, with the likes of Henry, Anelka, Trezeguet and now Mbappe successfully coming through the Clairefontaine Academy, which academy is the best for young players to develop?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually really like that question.
We answered this a little while ago on Continental Club again, didn't we? And I've said Monaco, just because did a little bit of reading on them, and they, by far and away, invest so much money. I think it's £8 million per season into their youth system. They have a lot of scouts in Paris. Paris produces more players that have produced that are playing in first teams. They're playing in first team squads across Europe than any other city. Yeah. Obviously, it's a hell of a football breeding ground. Yeah. And they're churning out the talent year in, year out. Their emphasis on sort of buy low, sell high means that youngsters are getting the chance as well. I think they bought Thomas Lemar for £3.5 million from Cannes. They got Anthony Martial for £4 million. And all these players, I mean, they discovered Mbappe in Paris. So all these players have gone on to bigger and better, haven't they? And that's an exciting proposition for the youngsters going there as well. They know that they're putting themselves in the shop window. People like Keita Balde-Diao move from Lazio because he probably thinks in a couple of years' time he's going to get a massive move from Monaco if he can maintain that form that he displayed in his breakout Serie A season where he got 16 or 17 goals. So for me, Monaco is the best place for youngsters to be at the minute. Definitely not Chelsea.
What do you think, Pato?
Yeah, though Chelsea actually invest a similar amount in their academy.
Just don't play anyone.
Yeah, it's a good place for you to get a move on.
To Bournemouth.
I think that...
do you think it's the best academy, though?
I think Clairefontaine is probably the best. After that, Dortmund and Man City. Man City's academy is really growing. They recruit incredibly well. They've got some unbelievable youngsters at the moment. Brahim Diaz, Brandon Barker, Alex Garcia, so much young talent. You're starting to see them poach these guys from Barcelona as well, Real Madrid too.
Yeah.
The issue there, of course, is whether you can get into the first team too. This is what Dortmund do so well. We've seen players come through, they get chances in the first team, and so often they turn into stars. I mean, it looks like they've got rid of Paslak, but I think that, I don't know, I think Clairefontaine's about as good as anywhere in the world.
I actually think that Chelsea have a really reasonable shout for having one of the best academies in the world. They don't necessarily have a route to the first team. They haven't quite worked that out yet. But in terms of production, it's hard to argue against. They produce so many players. They might not be the top
I don't know if they're producing them. They're good at pilfering other sides for that talent, aren't they?
I don't know. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Nathaniel Chalobah, all of these sort of players. Not the very highest, the high quality, but the sheer number of like Premier League level talents they produce.
Quantity over quality.
It's pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive. I think they won the Youth Champions League like 3-4 years in a row at one stage.
I think they've won the Youth FA Cup a record amount of times as well.
Yeah, maybe that's to do with their coaching. They just haven't figured out quite a path to the first team.
And that's a large part
and
of
that
it,
is
right?
a massive part, massive issue for them, and that's going to be a massive issue, especially when FFP really does eventually lock down, that they need to start figuring out a way that they're not selling Nathaniel Chalobah and then buying Danny Drinkwater, because that's just a ridiculous decision.
What about when Pep leaves Manchester City and maybe Begaristan moves on? Does that whole Man City you'd set up collapse maybe? It's obviously hard to speculate, but I look at the Barcelona team since he brought the likes of Busquets through, and they've not really, at La Masia, produced any standout players in the last 4 or 5 years, have they? Unless someone's escaping my mind, maybe Rafinha.
But I don't think they produced those players because of Pep. I think Pep gave someone like Busquets a chance in the first team because Busquets was so obviously like an incredible talent. I think the thing about Man City is everything they've done shows they have a plan, whereas a lot of things Barcelona do show they don't have a plan.
It's true.
So I think that Man City, they set up their academy, they got in their backroom stuff with the intention of getting Pep. So I think that given that they were able to do that, I think they'll have a plan for when Pep leaves as well. I think that the academy will probably remain in safe hands.
Paddy Vieira.
Yeah, quite a lot of people ask if I'm watching porn on this laptop. I'm not. I'm just reading your comments, seeing what you're saying, and most of them are saying fire Zach. So don't laugh much.
We're actually just
Laughing,
watching ourselves a little bit. I've got a little bit of hair sticking out as well.
Let's go over to
Bang out
social
more
corner
than
then. Let's get another question from the fans.
Okay, this one comes from J Sport. Who do you think win the World Cup, and how do you think France will do?
The World Cup.
Oh, the World Cup.
Go on, do you want to lead the charge or shall I?
Haven't talked about it. Go on, you lead the charge on this one. I need to thinking.
I really like Tite's Brazil. I talk about them at most given opportunities. I just think the state they were in before he took over and the sort of form they're displaying now is chalk and cheese. And if he can make Paulinho look like a world beater, I can't wait to see what he does when he has the full squad selection at his disposal, and players really want to play for their team, for the national team in the World Cup. He's a super interesting guy as well. Obviously took a year out of football after winning the Copa Libertadores with Corinthians, went to study coaching at Real Madrid and Arsenal. I just like that whole story, and they're playing playing a good blend of functional and attractive football.
Yeah.
And they've got a really well-rounded squad. Obviously that attacking 4 or 5, 6 or whatever with the likes of Coutinho, Neymar, Paulinho going box to box. Marcelo, Dani Alves still gets a game. You've got who's the young player? Begins with L. The name escapes from
Luan.
Classic Luan. Yeah, he's. I don't think he's that young actually. I think he might be mid-20s. Anyway, I digress. So for me, Brazil. Don't know about you boys.
I am going to go for France. Although I've said in the past, I think Italy have got an outside shout. I actually think if Italy can get the likes of the Torino striker, just having an absolute nightmare in my head. Belotti. If they can get Belotti firing at the World Cup, I think they've got every chance of going quite far. I think defensively there aren't many better teams in the competition, but it's hard to look past France, isn't it?
That
Obviously,
squad, yeah.
I don't want to say the deepest because I think that Spain still have a massively deep squad, but in terms of top level talent, they are just phenomenal in so many positions. And I actually think Olivier Giroud is crucial to their team. Olivier Giroud needs to get more minutes than he's currently getting at Arsenal for France to win that World Cup, I think.
Really, you think he's that pivotal?
I really do. I genuinely do.
Dovetail well together, don't
he
they?
spent a lot of time on the bench last season.
Yeah.
And his form for France was
Banged
still
it.
pretty
But
good.
maybe I'm wrong because I haven't watched enough Arsenal, but it feels now that Lacazette's joined, he's getting a lot less game time than he got last season.
He'll still play a decent amount. I mean, like the one thing that's reliable about Arsenal is they will get injuries.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll play. I mean, for me, you've already mentioned it, it's Spain. I think that Spain have one of the better coaches in Lopetegui. I think that he along with maybe Deschamps and to an extent Joachim Löw, of course, and Sampaoli as well. They're the better international coaches. France have a really deep squad, but I haven't quite seen them gel yet. Spain always put out a really good solid side, and they've got strength all over the park. They used to struggle for a striker after David Villa kind of disappeared. He's come back now.
They've just brought him back.
They've got Diego Costa, and they've got Alvaro Morata. They've got so much talent.
And they're all in really good form, aren't they? Morata is like 4 in 5. Asensio in that false number 9 position looks... not Asensio, sorry, yeah, Isco in that false number 9 position looks absolutely outrageous. Did you forget about that 3-0 when you said Italy?
The 3-0 against
Spain.
Spain. I don't think they're going to be carrying too much. I definitely 100% forgot. Make sure you get all your questions in as well. If you haven't already subscribed to Football Daily, keep them coming. Social Corner, we've got any better ones than that?
Well, the comments are flying at the minute, but 90% of them are about Zach.
Yeah.
Wanting his head.
Hated or adored, but never ignored. There we go.
But anyway, Suraj Thapta asked, is the crazy amount of money being thrown about in football ruining the game?
Oh my goodness.
I feel like this is a topic that like 3 middle-aged blokes are more well-versed to talk about. I think it's a bad thing.
I think it's a good thing. More money,
I wouldn't
the better.
necessarily say good. I think the influence of super agents like Jorge Mendes and Mino Raiola is dubious. A little bit. Well, I'm a little bit dubious about that. Obviously, he has kind of sunk his tentacles into clubs such as Wolves, Porto, Valencia, hasn't he? But these massive fees being banded around don't bother me, and I think it will plateau eventually. Well, Ted Newton said that, and I tend to take what he says as absolute
gospel.
Gold. Yeah, gospel.
Go on, Pato.
What do you reckon, mate?
I just think we pretend that money is like this an exogenous factor. That's what it's called.
What does that word mean? Because I don't even know.
So basically, something having its origin outside. Okay, so in this instance, it's this pretense that like there's this money that's just being kind of thrown at football, whereas football is generating this money. It's staying within football one way or another. I'd rather more of it went to the players or maybe taking down ticket prices than went to the owners. But this money's kind of here to stay. If the bubble bursts, that means that the market will plateau. It doesn't mean that it will start going down again. So as far as I could tell, unless UEFA come up with a version of FFP which is not toothless, and asking UEFA to do something not toothless, you're going to be waiting for a long time. I think that we're basically going to see huge prices continue for time being.
What I do have a problem with is effectively state-backed clubs.
Oh, PSG then, you've got a big problem.
That whole, the sort of morality of that issue, again, I'm going to use the word dubious, but without having all the facts, it's hard to put forward a sort of watertight argument. But watching them against Celtic in the Champions League, yes, I was enjoying that front three of Neymar, Cavani and Mbappe, but I was also thinking they've spent £400 million on 2 players, and as Pato said, if no one's going to regulate that to make sure that sporting integrity remains to an extent, then we're gonna see less sort of cup upsets and underdog stories, aren't we?
Yeah, you'd think so. Although equally, you could argue, obviously not against the state clubs because there's not much more to be said about that. But I think in the Premier League, I actually think money's a good thing because I think it is actually evening it out slowly but surely. The Premier League is becoming a lot more even, or at least on a more even keel than it was maybe 10 years ago when Man United could afford to go out and spend ridiculous sums and the lower half teams just had no chance of keeping up. Man United could just go out and take any player they wanted from a lower half team. Nowadays, teams go, you look at Man City with Johnny Evans, they go, I'm just going to keep bumping you up until you can't afford to pay that anymore.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, Man City would have just bought Johnny Evans.
In theory, that's true, but when you actually look at last season, the top 6 were as dominant as any top 6 in the Premier League have ever been. I agree with you generally that it's nice that the lower table clubs can have better quality players, and it means that of course upsets are possible because you have players like Shaqiri who are capable of the brilliant, but I still think that the big clubs tend to remain rich. That's what's always happened. It's what always will happen.
On the whole sort of European stage, there's no equilibrium, is there? Like La Liga are turning over a third of the amount of the Premier League, and that's why their chairman or CEO or whatever is now Tebas, is really pushing for games to be played outside of Spain. He wants to, investigate Manchester City and PSG. It is causing a bit of, it's not very harmonious at the minute between leagues, is it? So the Premier League, pushing it.
Right, Social Corner then. Let's get some polls and stuff on Twitter as well, Social Corner, if you've got time.
Okay, Jason Lim, though, asked this question. When will Bayern Munich win the Champions League again, and can they do it this year?
Oh my, can Bayern Munich win the Champions League this year? Simple answer is they can, but they probably won't.
Come on, Zach, find us some better questions.
They last year.
I think after Real Madrid, they've been in the second most semi-finals. They're always there or thereabouts.
But they should have knocked Real Madrid out last year, shouldn't they? Like they were clearly better in that second leg and got a little bit unlucky. Ancelotti has got some previous.
Yeah, right. Another one then, Social Corner.
Okay, who is from Andrew Feidler? Who is the most underrated Premier League player in history?
In history.
Oh,
That's a bigger question for you.
Should we just say this over the last few years?
Goodness me.
In
Okay,
history.
let's go over the last few years.
A bit mind-boggling that.
It's a hard one. This is going to take a little bit of thinking time. Has anybody got one straight off the bat?
Underrated. I mean, we talk about so many players. It's quite hard to say. You know, has anyone's exploits gone unheard of?
What about? I know this is going to make me sound so biased, but it's the first thing that springs to mind. Michael Carrick.
No.
No?
No.
I think he's the go-to answer for something like that.
People think but the fact he's a go-to answer shows he's not underrated.
And
Everyone thinks
he's received a lot of press in his latter years, hasn't he, for being evergreen, which is, you know, obviously to be applauded. But
Yeah. What about Antonio Valencia?
Antonio Valencia, I'll give you.
Yeah,
I think he's really
decent
good.
answer there.
I think Cesar Azpilicueta as well.
Oh.
Although people are starting to rate him now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
I
now-
think
People
2-3
know
years
he's
ago.
good.
Yeah.
Only since people have been hunting for ball-playing centre halves.
But look at him, he's playing centre back. He can play right back
Didn't
and
he
left back.
complete
He
the most
played-
passes in the Premier League, didn't
He
he?
played on his right. I don't know.
Last season,
but he
yeah.
played on the right wing in the Benitez days. I mean, I also at a slightly lower level. I think Mikel Arteta was very, very good at Arsenal, and Chelsea routinely seem to have guys. Willian's really good as well.
Yeah, Willian
Willian's
is
great.
really, really
I
underrated.
think a player whose output would soar at a bigger club, potentially Riyad Mahrez.
Oh, I don't know if he's underrated though.
Eriksen.
Or is he just in a poor
Musa
team?
Dembele.
Well, he's definitely not in a poor team, but I mean, he's 25 or 26. Escapes me now. We saw what he could do to any defender in the world
Yeah.
during that Premier League winning campaign, particularly in that 3-1 away victory at Manchester City. I think that's why big clubs were sniffing around, weren't they? Roma, Chelsea, Arsenal. I don't think any of those clubs wanted to put all their eggs in one basket, i.e. use a majority of their summer funds on him.
Yeah.
But I think he'd be worth it. I think we'd see that 15, 16 Mahrez again straight away if he was at a bigger club.
Really?
Less defensive responsibilities, yeah.
Yeah, so there's our underrated shouts. Who are
Maybe.
your underrated shouts? Ping them in the comments now. Social corner, what have we got
The
going?
next question comes from Noah, and he asks, if you could merge teams, defence, midfield and attack, what teams would you choose and why?
Oh, so we get what? Defenders. Who's the best defensive outfit in the whole world right now?
Juventus.
Well, it was Juventus last season, wasn't it? Before.
Is it still Juventus though, even though they've lost Bonucci, you think?
Yeah, probably.
All right, so Juventus's backline, even with, I suppose even without Bonucci,
You know
is
what?
pretty outrageous.
If Manchester City had a fit Vincent Kompany,
No.
that's a frightening.
the best in the Premier
frightening
League.
back four. Yeah, that's without a fit
They are
Vincent
so far this
Kompany.
season.
But Benjamin, they've not conceded a goal, mate.
They have. They've scored.
Yeah,
It's
they've
conceded
conceded
two.
They've conceded the same as
Man United and Man
They've-
City
Oh,
both
what?
They're
conceded
conceding
two.
fewer shots than any team in the Premier
Ooh,
League.
that's an interesting one.
Well, Benjamin Mendy, who else? John Stones. If you have a fit Vincent Kompany and Kyle Walker,
I still think they're missing maybe one centre half. I think if Vincent Kompany and John Stones are there, or Vincent Kompany and Otamendi are there, I think maybe one more.
God, that's an interesting question.
So let's go Juventus then.
All right, Juventus from last year.
Yeah.
We can't talk over the course of a season. can we?
Midfielders.
It's got to be
Probably
Real Madrid.
Got to be Real Madrid.
Though there's the part of me as well that would love to say someone like Napoli. Like I look at their players and I love every member of that. I love Jorginho, Diawara, Hamsik. Like there's so much talent there. Alan, but
Their players can do so many different things. You don't kind of think about them as one unit, do you? Like Hamsik can play attacking midfield, or Jorginho can play defensive midfield.
yeah.
I really like Bayern Munich as well. Thiago Vidal, James this
Tolisso.
season as well. Tolisso. I really like Bayern Munich's midfield, but Real Madrid's is.
Tolisso settled really well, yeah.
Yeah, I think Real Madrid. So
Kovacic on the bench.
Real Madrid forward line, PSG, Mbappe, Cavani, Neymar.
Oh, are we blending seasons now though?
Oh God.
If we're going to go last season, attacking.
Okay,
Monaco
last
had the
season
best
I would go
attacking
Monaco.
last season.
Last season Monaco.
Yeah, but
Or
talent-wise,
Barcelona,
it's good.
Messi, Suarez, and Neymar.
Yeah, so not a bad shout. Just like Monaco, because it's a little bit different.
I think
isn't
I
it?
like City's attack this season.
Yeah, City's
Or
attack
even
this
Liverpool's.
season is scary. And the reason I like City's more than Liverpool's is I think it's more interchangeable. I think if you lose any one of Liverpool's front three, they suddenly become a lot poorer. But if you lose Gabriel Jesus and you bring in Sterling and Sane, I still think it balances itself
City
out.
have got so many ways to hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And unfortunately for Liverpool, Daniel Sturridge is when he's been dropped back in on a couple of occasions hasn't looked anywhere near like the old Daniel Sturridge, has he?
there's a surprise.
But yeah, City got
Injuries,
Bernardo
man.
Silva to bring in. Leroy Sané's not getting a game. He's been deployed at left wing back, for fuck's sake. Raheem Sterling's being used sparingly.
100%. So we're going to go for at the back Juventus, Real Madrid, and then forward based on last season Barcelona, Messi, Neymar, and Suarez. Yeah.
And this season City.
This season
Not too bad.
Manchester City though. Right. Social corner. What we saying?
This is from Ratchet. Do you think Paulinho is still an odd signing?
We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? It's not that we didn't think he'd be an okay player. You've seen these players like Suarez, Vidal, Denis Suarez, that is, can still contribute to that Barcelona team, but it was just the fee, £45 million. That was the odd thing, wasn't it? If they picked him up for 19-20, I don't think anyone would be anywhere near as bemused.
Well, that's what they wanted to pay for him, wasn't it? And then they got boosted up.
And you struggle to believe that they couldn't have got somebody else. I mean, like, look, Barcelona, as soon as you put basically a good player in a super team, their numbers will always go through the roof. Like, Arda Turan used to put up huge numbers in small minutes, and people think he isn't good enough for Barca. I think they could have got somebody better. That's the one issue with it. Paulinho, he'll be fine, but is he still an odd signing? Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah, he's definitely a weird signing, but maybe he suits Valverde's system a lot better than we know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I didn't watch enough Bilbao last season, but I'm led to believe he kind of played a 4-2-3-1, and one of those midfielders was a proper out-and-out box-to-box, and Paulinho might be the perfect man for that system, which is the reason Valverde has brought him in. And we've seen over the last couple of games how effective he has been in that system that Valverde is operating. It's very possible. We've seen managers in the past get the very best out of particularly average players. I mean, I don't want to go back to Sir Alex Ferguson, but the likes of Darren Fletcher was a fantastic player for Manchester United. But if you'd have stuck him anywhere else, he'd probably been rubbish.
But people gave Fletcher time because he was young at the time, whereas with this move, they're paying £45 million for a 29-year-old whose numbers are no doubt, going to bottom out at some point. But he's given them an aerial presence as well. He scored a great header against Eibar. So.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He's a bit overpriced, but let's move on. Social call.
This question comes from Jamie Stevenson, and he asks, with the likes of France...
Asked that one. We've asked that one.
No, with the likes of France producing so many young players, why are England not producing the same way?
Little variation at the end, little disconnect between team social there. Zach, why are you pressing the panic button?
I apologise.
Everyone who said Zach should be fine.
Putting Dorman on the spot.
Might get your wish.
Why aren't England producing the same amount of players? I mean, when Jake Livermore's making the squad, you do worry to an extent. I think he's a fine player, but he's not exactly the most inspiring centre midfield option at the moment, is it?
No.
Gareth Southgate is going for functional players, but what do you think to this?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I'm not going to go into the grassroots problem with the FA and the FA's funding of coaching systems and stuff like that, which is massively flawed in the first place. But yeah, I think, as Chris said, I think Gareth Southgate picks continuously uninspiring squads, as every England manager has for approximately the last 10 years. What is the point of playing Jake Livermore in friendlies? Somebody please tell me in the comments if you know, because I have absolutely no clue. If he goes to the World Cup, I'd be extremely surprised. In 8 years' time or in 6 years' time, he's definitely not going to be in the team. So goodness knows why he gets played in friendlies when you've got the opportunity to play a player like Nathaniel Chalobah, who's impressed consistently at under-21 level, impressed on loan, that now is doing really well at Watford, but doesn't get a look in yet again under Gareth Southgate. So basically, we're stuck with a load of old dinosaurs in the FA boardroom, and that's not going to change.
But there was supposed to be one of the big positives of bringing Southgate in was that he managed in the 21s, right? So he was supposed to create a bit more of a clear pathway for the younger players to get into that first team. And I think he did call a few surprise names up, to be fair to him. I can't exactly recall them. But I actually remember George from The Office saying that in Germany, a coaching licence, I don't know if this is UEFA A, costs a tenth of what it does in the UK.
It's ridiculous.
So maybe they're just pricing good, promising coaching talent out of the profession. I don't know, Pat.
I think also in Italy, there's
that central school, isn't there?
Well, and they try and enforce the teaching of tactical flexibility to their managers. And I think that when you're an international manager, what you want to do is find all your best players and then try and come up with a system which allows you to use as many of them as possible, right?
Yeah.
We don't really get that.
Here we go. Do you want a bit of water?
We don't really get that when we see the kind of people that England hire. They hire people like Gareth Southgate. Maybe he's a good manager, but I sincerely doubt it based on his selection of players. And if he doesn't think that Raheem Sterling is England's first 11, then frankly he should be fired straight away. I mean, that's just stupid. But England, I think have got, as an outsider, I think England have got as good a squad of players as I can remember in about 15 years. It's really deep. There's loads of talent. You've got some great players in there, like actually world-class players.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since that's been the case.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll benefit over the next few years from the amount of
I'll save that until you start.
From the amount of Tottenham Hotspur players in that England squad.
And top coaches in the Premier League. You're hoping.
Yeah, good point.
They're hoping that that pedigree of manager is going to filter its way through to the national setup.
Social corners at your lab.
Yes, this one is from Varan Potty, and it goes to Pato more so. Do you think Stan Kroenke is destroying Arsenal?
Oh wow, Pato, take it over.
To a certain extent, you can't really destroy Arsenal at this point. Like, because they now earn so much money each year, they're always going to be able to kind of stay ahead of the pack. At the moment, it looks like they're going to be stuck in that 6th place for quite a while. The issue at Arsenal is that everything is in the hands of one guy, and it's Arsene Wenger. And whether you think that he's good at his job or not as a manager, he can't be good at every single job at the club. He can't be the head of the academy. He can't be the director of football, the manager, the first team coach, all these things. It's too much for one guy. I don't think that you see an improvement at Arsenal without getting rid of him at this point, because he's not going to accept a dilution of his power. And Kroenke allows him to stay. Apparently, last year, on reasonably good authority, we could say that Arsenal were sounding out managerial candidates. They were looking at directors of football, and they eventually were just told that Wenger was staying, because Wenger said to Kroenke, "I want to stay," and Kroenke let him. Now that is a serious problem, and I think that until he goes, director of football comes in, and a good manager comes in, I think Arsenal are stuck where they are. So in a sense, Kroenke's ruining the club, but technically it's Kroenke and Wenger. Sad to say.
Yeah, there we go. That's as concise answer as any of us are going to give. So let's go back to Social Corner.
The next question comes from Art is the Corner, and their question is, who are the relegation candidates? Who's going to go down this season?
Oh, good question.
I think we're all pretty insistent that Huddersfield were going to go down during the summer, but they've been the surprise package of the opening exchanges of the Premier League, haven't they? And I really like players like Aaron Moy, killing it in my fantasy team. They're playing a great direct brand of football, akin to when Blackpool came up, but they do look a bit more solid at the back. I think they were outplayed by West Ham in their last game, but that was away from home, and they were undefeated in the previous games, weren't they, before that? Newcastle as well. Newcastle have looked solid. I like some of their players. Atsu, Matt Ritchie, Lascelles looks decent at the back. So it's actually quite hard to sound out this season, barring the obvious candidates, Crystal Palace, who have got a horrible run of games and a new manager and a new system yet again to employ really early on. What about you, mate?
I think my 3 I'd be looking at, I think Bournemouth could really struggle this year. I'm not seeing enough signs of improvement for Bournemouth this year. I actually don't think their investment was that great over the summer. I mean, the signing of Nathan Ake on a permanent is a really good one, but had him on loan the season before. So you're looking for improvement in other areas. I'm not convinced the signings of Jermaine Defoe, etc., do that for them. So I think Bournemouth could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, as you've already spoken about. I also think Swansea. Aren't producing enough going forward. That may well change when Wilfred Boney finds his feet. If Wilfred Boney finds his feet and starts scoring goals, I think they'll be okay.
But at least Swansea have recruited okay.
Swansea have recruited okay, but like I said, goal-scoring wise, it's completely dependent on Wilfred Boney scoring goals. If Boney doesn't score goals, where do their other goals come from?
I think Tammy Abrahams will chip in.
Oh, I'm not convinced. He'll get more than 10
based on
goals.
that one game against Manchester United.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get more than 10 goals this season.
Well, 10 goals is not to be sniffed at in the Premier League. That's worth 20 million quid.
You've lost 15 goals from Sigurdsson, 15 goals from Lloris.
I like the midfield.
Where do they go from?
They've got good technical players. I like Tom Carroll. I think he's going to get a few assists this season. Tidy little player. Obviously, Renato Sanchez is only going to improve after that horrid debut. He actually didn't look too bad in the last game either, did he? And against Tottenham, which is one of the games I watched last weekend, they were sound as a defensive unit. They drew 0-0 in the end. Fabianski is going from strength to strength, year to year.
But they can't keep relying. They've conceded the most shots in the league.
And they've taken the fewest. Yeah, I agree. Those trends have got to be reversed, but I do think there's weaker teams than Swansea.
Brighton as well. Brighton have been really
definitely.
Even though I think we agree that we like their recruitment too. I think Brighton are bad. Burnley, I would say. I think Burnley were very lucky to stay up last season.
Witchcraft.
Sean Dyche makes a good defence. But frankly, they've got to win against Chelsea away this season. They've got to draw against Liverpool. And those 4 points will probably make the difference.
And Tottenham Hotspur got a point against
Yeah,
Tottenham.
yeah. If those points will genuinely make the difference for them.
But their look's got to run out. Sam Vokes scored with 100% of his efforts against Chelsea, and that Stephen Ward finish from left back was outrageous. And then against Palace, they got battered. Against Liverpool, they got absolutely battered. Suggested goals put them at a loss for both games. Surely, Pato, please, their look's got to run out. They're a horrible team to watch.
But if they now just go back to kind of like normal levels that you'd expect for Burnley for the rest of the year, they've already got those extra points, and that's what I think will keep them up. I mean, I agree that look, they are basically a kind of Pulis side essentially.
Yeah, I would say that maybe this is
less
just
talent.
maybe you disagree with me. I would expect, this is probably going to sound ridiculous.
Oh, look at that smirk.
Would Vokes and Barnes to get more goals between them than Boney and Tammy Abraham. I don't know, maybe that's completely wrong, but I just in the Premier League I see those guys outscoring Swansea.
Okay.
And I think that's a problem for Swansea.
I mean, yeah, that's a long shot. They're big physical players, aren't they? And Burnley are going to pump a lot of balls into the box. And I think last season their largest contributor to passes that reached the final third was Michael Keane.
Oh, really?
Because they just go bang, long. So Tarkowski, I don't think he's as good a distributor as Michael Keane.
He's a good passer though, Tarkowski.
But he'll be... Really? I thought that was... in the game I watched him, I thought that was the one thing he needed to add to his game. He had great anticipation.
Oh, I like him.
Good aerial presence, but...
We'll be interested to see anyway.
He's a brick shit out.
Sean Dyche gets a lot out of his defenders.
Yeah, right. Keep the comments coming as well. Comment on our Facebook live stream, like that as well. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel too. Send us some tweets, but Social Corner, that's your job. So let us know what's going on.
Okay, Pietro Val asks, who will win the Golden Boy Award? Keep in mind, Kyle Walker-Peters has somehow made it in there as well.
Can you read us who's nominated?
The list, give me 2 seconds.
The list is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's on my Twitter feed. I actually retweeted the list and asked the EFD squad is what they thought of it. I was outraged that Moussa Dembele wasn't on there from Celtic. Kyle Walker-Peters somehow on there, but I think it's pretty much Mbappe's to lose, right?
But it's Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele's on there as well.
I've got it.
There are like 4 players on
Marcus
there.
Rashford.
Christian Pulisic is on it. I mean, there are unbelievable players on it.
Yeah, alright, go on then, Zach. Read them out loud.
And there's some trash as well.
A player called Aaron Martin from Espanyol, Jean-Kevin Augustin, Rodrigo Bentancur.
Bentancur.
There we go.
This pronunciation.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin, that wasn't the hardest to pronounce. Come on, Zach, get with it.
Federico Chiesa, Ousmane Dembele
from Fiorentina.
Amadou
Diawara from Napoli. I'll translate from Zach.
Kasper Dolberg, Gianluigi Donnarumma, Gabriel Jesus, Joe Gomez, Benjamin Henriques, Borja Mayoral, Kylian Mbappe, Emre Moore, Reece Oxford, Christian Pulisic, Marcus Rashford, Alan St. Maxim, Dominic Solanke, Theo Hernandez, Yuri Tielemans, Enz Unal, and Kyle Walker-Peters.
Right, interesting. It's a decent effort, Zach. Fair play.
I've butchered a few.
It's been generous.
But Donnarumma, Mbappe, Dembele, Pulisic. I mean, like, you could not win. There are genuinely maybe 5 players here who could win a Ballon d'Or.
You could make it. You could make a competitive 11 out of just the Golden Boys.
It's so good.
That's a formidable list. I don't know what the likes of Reece Oxford are doing on there. Is he had a good start to his tenure at
not convinced about that at all.
As I said before, I'm going to stick to my guns there. It's Mbappe to lose.
Yeah, Mbappe
or Dembele.
It should be Dembele, but I think it'll be Mbappe.
Mbappe. Another question then, Social Corner, doorstop.
The next question comes from Jason Lim, and he says, have Liverpool effectively thrown £40 million down the toilet by signing Oxlade-Chamberlain?
I think he's just become social media's latest target, hasn't he? I think it'll probably take a little while to settle into the side, but I mean, Arsene Wenger, to get 40 million for Oxlade-Chamberlain in the last year of his contract is an excellent piece of business, in my opinion. He's a good utility man. He can play at wing back. I'm not sure if he's good enough to play in central midfield, but you watched him more than most, Pato, being an Arsenal fan. And I don't know what you make of it.
He's capable of playing really well in central midfield. He did for us last season in that game against Southampton in the Cup where we beat them, 5-1 or something? No, 5-0, 6-0.
Yeah.
They were absolutely unbelievable. But the problem is he's not consistent, and consistency is the most important thing for a centre mid. He does want to play on the wing, he does want to play right wing back, and right wing back at the moment is by far his best position. So if they play him there, in the absence of Nathaniel Klein, he'll probably be great, but he'll also probably be really, really annoyed with Klopp.
Yeah,
they'll
especially
get
when he's
value
dropped
out of him.
for Nathaniel Clyne.
Well, they'll get value out of him. They'll get value out of him, but my God, look, players don't get bad overnight without an injury or getting old, basically. So I think that he will ultimately come good.
I think he's a bit of an odd signing. I think it's a really, really odd signing.
A real sentiment.
Well, they've signed Naby Keita, so is he a 1 year stopgap? Which is like, what's the point of signing Oxlade-Chamberlain as a 1 year stopgap?
Liverpool aren't in the position where they can pay 40 mil for a player and then sit them on the bench.
It took a wage reduction as well, so I feel like he thought he was almost guaranteed to play. Maybe not at centre mid and at right back, but it's not been the case, has it?
Yeah, right. Last 10 minutes of questions then, so let's quick fire them off. Zach?
From Trolls456, who do you think will be the next player to break the streak of only attacking players winning the Ballon d'Or?
Oh dear, it's not going to happen for a long, long time. I don't see it happening for the next 20 years. I just don't see any defenders anywhere close to Neymar.
If Buffon wins the Champions League in his last season, he might get a Ballon d'Or. Other than that, there's got to be a hell of a story behind it as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, it'd have to be like a defender carrying their team to
the World Cup.
Yeah,
which might have a big bearing
or something like that. I mean, like you look at outstanding players who aren't attackers. And you think people like Naby Keita, who still do exciting things like dribbling in midfield, but Thiago has never even been considered, and he's about as exciting a central midfielder as you'll ever get.
Yeah, so it's just not happening. Next question in Social Corner.
Next question comes from Greg Will, and he asks...
Will Greg Sapphire.
Do you think referees have been too harsh with red cards this season?
No. I think they've all been justified.
Yeah, I think it's going to cause some controversy, some of those decisions.
Joe just bases his opinion on what Gary Neville puts out.
I don't. I actually think that some of the decisions are going to be extremely controversial going forward. There have been some harsh ones, not necessarily in Europe, not necessarily in the Premier League, but across Europe, I think. And they seem to have cracked right down on high feet. But yeah, every decision pretty much has been nailed on. I would say Gary Cahill's at the start of the season was a potentially slightly suspect one. But other than that, I think every other one's been correct. Next one.
Finley Boylan has this next one, and he asks, does Eden Hazard need to perform in Europe to be considered one of the world's best? By world best, I think he's top 5.
Oh my word!
I mean, you'd put a peak Eden Hazard in that top 5. Eden Hazard last season he got 15 league goals, didn't he?
I think
16 league goals. He's one of Chelsea's biggest contributors, and he's been pushing a move to Real Madrid for a long time. If he got that move and performed in that Real Madrid side, him, Asensio and Ronaldo up front would be a tasty proposition. Yeah. But for me, he's in the top 20 at least, isn't he?
Top 20. Obviously he has to make the top 20. I don't really know what much more he can do. I don't see Chelsea as a team that are going to be able to compete with Real Madrid's, the Barcelona's, the Bayern Munich's on the European stage at the moment. I don't think they've got a deep enough squad, and I don't think that's his fault.
And there are too many players who play a similar position to him who get more goals and more assists than him. Like he gets plenty of goals, but he also takes penalties. I mean, he's never going to be able to compete when someone's playing in the same position and doing more than him. Yeah. Like, look,
Neymar.
Alexis Sanchez had greater output than him last season. I wouldn't put Alexis Sanchez in the top 5 players in the world.
I mean, he's one of Europe's elite dribblers as well, isn't he? So I think he's beat the most people in the Premier League since he made his debut. So in terms of out-and-out wing play, as Pat said, I don't think he can be doing much more. He also plays... He's played under managers whose kind of teams are more than the sum of their parts at times. Obviously, Antonio Conte, a bit of a pragmatist, Jose Mourinho, a little bit more defensive-minded, barring this season at Manchester United. So maybe that's hindered people's opinion of him somewhat because he's not playing in teams that go for it gung-ho.
Yeah.
Just guessing.
Decent answer there. Right, next one.
Next one comes from Laser Tango. Will Pep get sacked if he doesn't win a trophy this year?
100%. There's no way Pep Guardiola gets sacked. He could finish like 8th in the league, I think, and still keep his job.
No, he might get sacked then.
I don't know. They've built a whole bloody backroom staff, academy around him. I just think he's pretty much the most unsackable manager in the entire league at this stage, Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
I mean, yeah, he won his first 10 games, didn't he, as well, last season, so people were still waxing lyrical about him after those 10 games. But I feel like people wanted him to fail last year, and I think some of the criticism that he came in for was a little bit undeserved to an extent, but now he's spent all that money, he does have he does have to kind of deliver, doesn't he?
Yeah.
To an extent, I think this title's going to be City's or United's. Personally, don't know about you boys.
Pato, is he sackable? No. There we have it. Right, next question from Social Corner. 5 minutes left, so bash him in.
Nicholas Lawson has this one.
Don't bash him off, bash him in.
What are your opinions on VAR and should it be introduced to the Premier League?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think yet. I don't think it's ready to be introduced yet. I watched the decision in the Eredivisie, which took, I think, 6.5 minutes to be made at the weekend.
Equally, we saw a decision in the Bundesliga which took 6.5 seconds.
Yeah, so that's how far apart it is. It needs to be way more consistent before it's introduced to
yeah,
the
but
Premier
you've
League.
got to get through that bedding in process before you get to that point. You need to let people use the equipment, don't you?
Yeah, and they are in other leagues. So
there you go.
we'll take it when it's at its peak point.
I mean, it's already changing results though in the Premier League. Like we're already seeing matches that are decided by offside goals or reds that you have changed your tune about. In the Mane case,
100%.
But which people might want to see reconsidered. I think that obviously it needs to come in sooner. Like football is such a reactionary, conservative sport. Everybody is so scared about changing these perfect rules. As if like we should never change anything about the game. And there are loads of things that have been changed about the game and have made it better, like the pass-back rule, which we still don't employ in five-a-side football on a Thursday, and it makes me livid.
Yeah, but at the end of the season, get it in. Right, next question, 4 minutes left.
Next question comes from George Smith, and he asks, how many goals should a attacker score to be rated as one of the best in the league? How many should they get in the season?
Well, to quantify, innit?
I suppose for a striker, for me, 20 plus goals. As one of the best in the league, you need to be hitting 20
Depends
plus
what
goals.
team you're playing for. I suppose if you're going to be considered as one of the best, you'd have to be playing for the top 4 anyway, top 6. So yeah, 25 goals.
And if you get 19 and everybody else in the league gets 10, you are the best in the league. So I mean, it depends how many everybody else in the league is getting. But over 20 is no one can argue with over 20,
really
right? Impressive. That's a great tally. Over 25 is like pretty damn good.
It's all relative.
Right, next question.
This comes from Will. Will Harry Kane overtake Alan Shearer for the most Premier League goals ever?
So was that from Will, or did it just start with Will?
It wasn't written well.
I can't predict the future, but
that's literally what we do.
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think injuries will get to him, such as the intensity of the Premier League now. I think that Alan Shearer may have even struggled to hit the tally he once did nowadays.
Maybe. I'm not going to bore you with an answer. Maybe.
I don't think so. I mean, he's got 180 more to get. He's got to get another like 7 seasons of 25 a season and not get injured.
Yeah, not going to happen. 2 minutes left then, 2 questions.
Next question comes from Azapada. How will Bayern cope without Neuer until January?
Oh, I actually really like that question.
That's a good point.
Who is their standing keeper? We actually watched him play and I was like, who is that regen? Yeah, maybe.
I think it is Stark.
I can't remember this person.
Right, let's say even without him though, I think they'll be absolutely
It's definitely
fine.
not Oliver Kahn.
Yeah, I think they'll be
long gone.
I think they'll be absolutely fine. Without him.
Yeah.
Such the level of the defence.
Yeah, domestically, yeah. If he keeps getting injured, it might hinder them in the Champions League last 16. Obviously, they're not as reliant on the goalkeeper passing out from the back now under Ancelotti, are they? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they'll be absolutely fine. Next question then, 2 minutes left still. So.
Nabil Fekir asks, should Eriksen be more appreciated?
Nabil Fekir, doesn't he play for Lyon?
Oh, he does play for Lyon.
Yeah,
Patrick, you love Christian Eriksen, don't you?
Yeah, of course he should be appreciated more. Like this summer when Barcelona were looking for Felipe Coutinho, they should have been after Christian Eriksen. Christian Eriksen can play, he played in the centre mid role last season at certain points. He can play on the left, he can play as a number 10. Huge goal output, huge assist output as well. He's so intelligent, he can dribble, he leads the counter press. He's so good. I think he's 25 years old now.
Yeah.
He's even 6 foot tall, so he's got some physical size as well. I mean, Pochettino says he's one of the most intelligent players he's worked with, and I think he's amazing to watch.
I actually think he's about 5'6", and then his hair is just about 7 inches.
Yeah,
I'd still take
syndrome.
bigger than your future. I'd still take KDB over him. What about you boys?
Yeah, I love Christian Eriksen. I think KDB is obviously got a higher ceiling than Eriksen, but I don't know. Christian Eriksen, if he ever got a move to a Barcelona or a Real Madrid, I think he'd be amongst the best players in the world. So let's get one more question then before we go.
The last question comes from Gamer95. Who is the most creative player in the Premier League?
No,
I mean, we've just spoke about it.
We've just spoke about it. Oh, have we though? Yeah.
I think in terms of this season, I think it is Eriksen and Kane. Oh no, it's Silva, isn't it? I think it's Silva and Eriksen who've created the most chances from open play.
Silva and Mkhitaryan.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mkhitaryan.
But the person creating most chances per 90 is Mesut Ozil at the moment. But basically those guys, you've got 5 or 6 there, Fabregas as well, who are just always way above everyone else, around about 4 chances created per game. That is mental numbers.
Yeah, so we're going to say like Christian Eriksen as well, the usual candidates. Anyway, that is all the time we have got on today's Fan Hour. We will be back next week as we are every week, and make sure as well you check out next Thursday's live stream, the 12th Man Our Live Fantasy Football Show. That's on our Facebook page. So if you're watching on Facebook right now, hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and check out our XR that's gone live about an hour ago, or 2 now. It's on the worst injuries we've seen in football. Well worth a watch.
Sickening.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter, hit like. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.
That was much better this week. I think next week can we flip this little screen up on here?
sorry, I forgot.
These 2 dildos on the screen.
Look at this ending.
Goodbye,
Fuck you,
fuck
faggots. Fuck you, dislike.
Shall I stop the stream?
Suck my ass.
Yeah?
Thanks. Take it fast. Yes, drop the stream, bro. We're just some guys just taking us apart.